Close your eyes, it's 1932. The Olympic flame flickers in Los Angeles, jazz drifts through radios, and the Empire State Building watches over a restless city. Welcome, dear dreamer. I'm Toro, your guide through time's quiet corridors. Tonight, let us drift back to the year 1932, a year that shimmered with both stillness and change, carrying the echoes of hardship, but also the gentle sparks of creativity and resilience. Imagine the world, not as it is now, but as it once was, radios glowing in living rooms, gramophones spinning their warm and crackling tunes, and newspapers rustling with news from near and far. This was a time when the world was still healing, still searching for its rhythm after deep economic tremors. And yet, life continued with small joys, a child playing with a wooden toy, a family gathered for supper, a crowd marveling at athletes beneath the California sun. In these details, 1932 reveals itself, a year of contrasts, quiet endurance, and whispered hope. Together, let us walk softly into its story, as though treading across a meadow at twilight. World Events. The year 1932 unfolded like a slow-turning page in a heavy, leather-bound book, carrying stories from across the globe. In the United States, the Great Depression was still deep, shaping everyday lives. Bread lines stretched through city streets, while farmers watched anxiously as the Dust Bowl began to stir its dry winds across the plains. In November, Americans looked to new leadership. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected president, promising a New Deal that would bring comfort and relief. His calm, steady voice would soon find its way into homes through radio broadcasts, soothing a nation searching for reassurance. Across the Atlantic, Europe's political landscapes were shifting. In Germany, the Weimar Republic wavered under strain. The elections of 1932 were turbulent, with Adolf Hitler's National Socialist Party gaining alarming strength. Yet, amid uncertainty, life continued quietly for most. Students still studied, bakers still sold their bread, and musicians still played in corner cafes. Meanwhile, in the British Empire, a celebration of tradition carried on. King George V marked the silver jubilee of his reign, a symbol of continuity in unsettled times. In India, Mahatma Gandhi continued his peaceful struggle for independence, fasting to protest injustices. His quiet strength touched the conscience of the world, showing how silence and patience could be more powerful than anger. Farther east, in China, tension simmered as Japan deepened its presence in Manchuria, reshaping borders and unsettling lives. Trains continued to run, markets still opened, but a shadow of change loomed over the daily routines of ordinary families. And high above the world, another landmark quietly stood watch. The Empire State Building, completed just the year before, was now the tallest building on Earth. Against the struggles below, it stood as a reminder of human ambition, reaching calmly into the clouds. Thus, 1932 carried both turbulence and tranquility. While newspapers carried grave headlines, people also carried on with their days, cooking, working, laughing, and finding comfort in simple rituals of life. One story that shaped 1932. Among all the happenings of 1932, one story glows softly in memory: the Summer Olympic Games in Los Angeles. At a time when the world was weary with economic hardship, the Games offered a gentle kind of magic. beneath the Californian sun, crowds gathered to watch athletes from faraway lands. Flags fluttered in the breeze, and the torch carried its quiet flame, linking the present to ancient traditions. Despite the Great Depression, the stadium filled with cheers. For a moment, struggles seemed distant, replaced by the rhythm of running feet, the splash of swimmers, and the graceful arcs of javelins through the air. One athlete in particular left a mark on hearts: Mildred "Babe" Didrikson of the United States. Her strength, her versatility, and her quiet determination brought home 2 gold medals and 1 silver. She was more than a competitor, she was a symbol of resilience, showing how individuals could rise even when times were difficult. For many, the Los Angeles Olympics were more than just sport. They were a reminder of human spirit, of nations coming together despite their troubles, of beauty in the shared language of competition. Newspapers reported the victories, but more importantly, people carried home a sense of joy, inspiration, and calm pride. This story became the gentle heartbeat of 1932, proof that even in challenging years, the world could pause to celebrate courage, grace, and unity. Daily life around the world. What was it like to live in 1932? In cities, the streets carried a slower rhythm. Automobiles were present but fewer than today. Many still relied on streetcars, bicycles, and simple walks through neighborhoods. Radios were the heart of the home, their warm glow casting light across evening gatherings. Families tuned in not only for news but for comedy, drama, and music, a balm for weary spirits. In homes, meals were simple and hearty. A pot of stew might bubble on the stove, bread fresh from the oven, apples sliced with care. In rural areas, families tended gardens and kept chickens, making do with what they had. Sewing machines hummed as clothes were mended and passed along, each stitch carrying both thrift and love. Fashion reflected the times. Men wore suits, often simpler than the lavish styles of the 1920s. Women's dresses flowed just below the knee, with gentle fabrics and muted colors. Hats remained common, adding grace to even an ordinary outing. Children played games with marbles, jump ropes, and wooden toys. Board games like Monopoly were just appearing, offering laughter and strategy on long evenings. In playgrounds, the sound of skipping ropes and laughter carried on, even as adults worried about wages and bills. Elsewhere in the world, traditions shaped daily rhythms. In Japan, kimonos still flowed gracefully through festivals. In rural India, markets bustled with spices, cloth, and conversation. In European cafes, the clink of porcelain cups and the notes of a violin filled the air. Everyday life in 1932 was not about extravagance, but about finding comfort in small things: a shared meal, a favorite song on the radio, or the pages of a book read aloud before bed. Science, inventions, and technology. Even in difficult times, curiosity and invention continued to bloom. In medicine, 1932 saw advances in antibiotics. Scientists were experimenting with sulfur drugs, early steps toward treatments that would one day save countless lives. Hospitals, though modest by modern standards, carried a sense of cautious hope as new remedies began to emerge. In transportation, automobiles grew more reliable, and trains remained the backbone of long journeys. Across the seas, ocean liners continued their graceful crossings, carrying travelers in cabins where the sound of waves mingled with dreams. In communication, radio technology spread further. Families no longer needed to gather around a gramophone alone. Now they could listen to live broadcasts, hearing voices and music in real time. The world felt closer, the distance between cities softened by invisible waves. A remarkable invention of 1932 was the development of the neutron by James Chadwick. This quiet discovery would reshape physics, though few at the time could imagine its vast implications. Meanwhile, household tools grew steadily more convenient. Refrigerators began appearing in more homes, replacing the icebox. Vacuum cleaners hummed softly in parlors. These small changes made daily routines lighter, hinting at the modern comforts yet to come. Culture and the arts. Even as economies struggled, the arts provided solace. In film, audiences lined up to see the latest motion pictures. The Marx Brothers brought laughter with horse feathers. The silver screen sparkled with stars like Jean Harlow, whose presence lit up theaters. Music carried the pulse of the year. Jazz continued to bloom, with Louis Armstrong's trumpet lifting spirits and Duke Ellington's orchestra weaving elegance through the night. Blues also sang softly, telling stories of both sorrow and resilience. In literature, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World stirred quiet reflection, offering visions of the future that seemed both wondrous and unsettling. At the same time, cozy mysteries and romances filled shelves, giving readers gentle escape. Sports brought both excitement and unity. Beyond the Olympics, baseball in America offered comfort, with Babe Ruth still drawing crowds to Yankee Stadium. Across the Atlantic, soccer games brought communities together on weekends. Art, too, adapted. Painters experimented with modern forms, yet many also painted pastoral scenes, offering calm visions of fields, rivers, and familiar faces. Culture in 1932 was not about extravagance but about connection, the way stories, songs, and images could soften life's edges. Media and headlines. News in 1932 arrived mostly through newspapers, their pages filled with both heavy headlines and gentle amusements. Families might share a copy at the breakfast table, coffee steaming nearby. Some headlines read: Roosevelt elected President of the United States. Gandhi fasts for India's independence. Olympics open in Los Angeles under summer sun. Alongside such weighty news were lighter notes, local fairs, recipes for thrifty meals, and comic strips offering daily smiles. Prices told their own story. A loaf of bread in the US cost around 7 cents, a gallon of gasoline about 10 cents. Movie tickets could be bought for 25 cents, making cinema an affordable escape. Radio schedules were printed, listing the evening's programs, a swing band, a dramatic play, or a fireside talk. Thus, the media of 1932 was both a mirror of global shifts and a companion for everyday life. People born and people died this year. 1932 welcomed many new lives who would one day shape the world. Among them were Johnny Cash, whose deep voice would echo across generations of music. Elizabeth Taylor, destined to shine in Hollywood's golden glow. Sylvia Plath, whose poetry would leave lasting imprints. Umberto Eco, future novelist and thinker. And in the same year, the world said farewell to gentle figures of history. George Eastman, the pioneer of photography, who helped bring memories into homes through his Kodak camera. Hart Crane, the poet, whose words had painted visions of America's bridges and rivers. Each birth and passing was a quiet reminder of the cycle of time, arrivals and farewells shaping the ever-turning story of humanity. As 1932 drew to a close, the world carried a mixture of weariness and hope. The Great Depression was not yet behind, but whispers of change stirred in Roosevelt's promises. Families lit lamps as December nights grew long, sharing meals, songs, and prayers for a gentler tomorrow. In Europe, uncertainty lingered, yet holiday markets glowed with candles and evergreen garlands. In Asia, festivals lit the night sky, lanterns floating like small stars. The feeling of the year was one of waiting, of breathing slowly through hardship while glimpsing small sparks of renewal. The Empire State Building still touched the sky, the Olympic Games still warmed memories, and just still danced through smoky rooms. 1932 ended not with loud celebration, but with a quiet exhale, the sense of stepping carefully into a new year, carrying both burdens and fragile hopes. Thank you, dear listener, for drifting with me through the soft corridors of 1932. May the echoes of jazz, the steady flicker of Olympic flames, and the quiet resilience of everyday people bring you calm tonight. If you enjoyed this gentle journey, I invite you to support Toro's History Lullabies by liking this episode, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with anyone who might also wish for a soothing passage into the past. Sleep well, and let your dreams carry you forward, for soon, we will step into another year together, and discover what gentle wonders it holds. Good night.